Welcome back, everybody, to Roll for Lore. Once again, Caitlin is joining me today, and she will be teaching me how to play the guitar with my tongue.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
oh my God.
Just as we said last time, we're going to do the same thing. You're going to roll the d4, and then we're going to choose based on what you roll. So go ahead and give that d4 a roll, please.
I like these dice, by the way. These are so cool.
These are my Roland dice for when I was playing Roland. 4 abilities. Okay. Go ahead and roll. The dice doesn't lie. Go ahead and roll this.
Maybe my rules have been
1.
Oh.
So, following up our last lesson on barbarians, we are now talking about the most important skill and most important ability for a barbarian to have, which is strength. Now, strength is exactly as it sounds. How strong you are, how much damage you can do if you're using a martial weapon, how far you can jump, how far you can, do certain things like throw. But most importantly, strength is one of the main 6 abilities on every character sheet.
Yes.
As you've seen. So when you are playing a strength-based character, you're usually in the realm of like barbarian, fighter, paladin, sometimes a monk, but monks usually tend to be more dexterity due to their nature. Clerics can be strength-based if you want your cleric to be like someone who does a lot of damage, even though they're technically a priest. Yeah. And really, if you want to be someone who hits people really hard, you have to have a high strength modifier.
Makes sense, yeah.
When we talk about strength, strength is what some people mistake for being the most important skill, but that is not true, depending on who you are. For instance, playing a bard, playing Calliope in Broken Shadow, strength to you means very little.
Yeah, right? No. I'm more charismatic.
Charismatic, yeah. You do charisma because you are doing things like what's the word? Performing and persuading people and deceiving people. Yeah, whereas strength-based characters are like the traditional, like, world's strongest man from the circus.
Yeah.
We're calling back to Calliope's backstory. Yeah,
it's like I'm trying to snake charm somebody and you're just hitting people. Like
exactly, yeah. Bards are like a really interesting character in that regard because they are so reliant on
doing
your ability
dance.
to dance and do things. And to call, I know you still haven't seen the Dungeons and Dragons movie, but one of the main characters is the barbarian and the other main character is a bard. So they team up quite often.
That makes sense because, I mean, you kind of have one strength on one side and then the other. Like, they kind of fill each other's gaps of, like...
what they do and everything, yeah. Strength is an important one, though, too, because it adds to your jump ability. So, like, if you're trying to jump somewhere, it also adds to, like, your athletics, your ability to perform, things like that, or feats of strength. So if you were just going to flat out punch somebody without any sort of weapon at all, your unarmed attack is your strength, is 1 plus your strength modifier. So if you have 1 with a 0 modifier, you just do 1 damage every time. Whereas if you have 1 with a 5 modifier, it's 6 damage. Which doesn't sound like a lot, but if you punch someone hard enough and they only have 6 HP, like a wizard, you can kill them outright.
Really? They only have 6?
Sometimes, yeah. At level 1, if you punch a level 1 wizard hard enough, you could just end them right there.
Paladin, I had like 13, but I think someone else was a bard, druid. They had really low.
Druids have low, bards have low, but part of that is also because of your armor.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. Sometimes there is a requirement for heavy armor to have a high strength modifier, which is nice. Yeah. Now, because there's not much to talk about in terms of abilities, why don't you go ahead and roll that d4 again, and we'll do a second one, because it's not much we can say. No, not that. Roll the d4, and then we'll talk about something else.
Oh, I see. Start from the bottom.
3. Settings. Okay. Settings. These are fun, because this talks about certain locations. So your settings, you're going to roll the d8, which is this diamond-looking guy.
Oh, these are interesting. 5. Hey.
The Feywild. Okay, you should be familiar with this because you like the ACOTAR series.
Mm-hmm.
And the ACOTAR series take place in fairy courts.
Yes.
Right? So the Feywild, for those of you who don't know, the Feywild in D&D is largely run by fairies or Archfey. Now, Archfey use manipulation tactics and proper wording to get you to agree to do things and then screw you in the long run. The Feywild is arguably the most interesting place in Faerun, or the material plane, or D&D, whatever you want to call it. And partially because it is a vast sea of like wild magic where nothing makes sense. It's nonsensical. It's, you know, a chaotic realm of just a bunch of different people trying to screw with each other. There are two, depending on which setting you're looking at, there's two major courts. There's the summer court and the winter court.
Yeah.
There is also the autumn court and the spring court. And depending on the court a particular Archfey belongs to, it affects their appearance, their abilities, and stuff like that. So the Feywild is really something that you have to be careful with when you're playing D&D, and really, as a DM, you have to be careful that the narrative you're creating in that sense is both interesting and it's something that, you know, you can use to a degree that nobody's going to get bored while they're playing it. Because as much fun as like constant nonsense might seem, if it's like every 5 seconds, it becomes...
but it also could just be not cohesive.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Sometimes, even if you have an unreliable narrator, you still have to have a reliable narration. So a linear timeline. While the Feywild does deal with like a lot of non-linear things, so like time passes differently, it's oftentimes better to sort of err on the side of like 40% nonsense, 60% regular gameplay. The Feywild is known for being sort of the worst place to be if you're a literal person. Yeah. So not like if you're like literally a person, like if you take everything very literally.
If you're like a black and white thinker.
Yeah. So Feywild, like Archfeys, tend to build in arguments into their wording. So do you know what a djinn is?
Other than the drink?
No, like a genie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so in classic sort of like Arabian Nights, like the book, jinn or genies tend to confuse people and take the spirit of their own translation when granting wishes. So have you ever heard of like you have to be really careful what you talk about with a genie, because it would be
what you wish for.
So if you wish for like, I want $1 million, and you're like, okay, it's $1 million in a bank account you can't access. Right? Or I want to fly. Yeah, it's like, okay, you can fly, but you can never land. Things like that.
Just zero gravity mode.
The Fae have the same kind of aspect to them.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to sell yourself to an Archfey, if you're trying to sell yourself to like get something better, it's like, I want the ability to play music so well for the rest of my life.
But you don't get to pick what instrument, and then what's right?
Or the Archfey makes you play really, really well for 10 seconds and then kills you. Therefore, it's the rest of your life.
Damn.
Yeah. So Archfey are very conniving, charismatic,
very sassy.
And yes, and they love to like put people in their place, so to speak. And part of that, from the Feywild perspective, is, you know, their ability to change the narrative however they want. My favorite sort of, like, the Feywild is kind of an amalgamation of several places in mythology. Like, it's very close. If we're looking at like Norse mythology, it's like a combination of Alfheim and Vanaheim at the same time. So it's both very wild and very territorial. But if we're thinking of like,
like an ACOTAR, they're breaking the gates of between the different courts. Yeah,
exactly. So like the winter court, the summer court, they're the big ones because they're the two, like winter Eladrin and summer Eladrin, the different subspecies of elves. It's an interesting place to be, but it's also so dependent on how well you role play it. And if you're not a strong role player, if you're not a strong like puzzle solver and problem solver and thinker,
say it's good for a new player.
It's not good for a new player. The Feywild is, it's fun for people who've been playing for a really long time. There's very few places I would say you shouldn't start a campaign in. The Feywild is one of them. Unless you're like experienced players and you know what you're doing and you don't have John Everyman, the human fighter, but you have like well-developed characters and you have been playing long enough that you know your character sheet and like what to look for. From a non-metagaming standpoint, and I'll tell you what metagaming means in a minute, but the Feywild is not where you would start. Like every other, if you take a look at this, I don't know if everyone can see it, but if you take a look at this,
I believe my first campaign was in Elven Kingdom?
An Elven Kingdom is like a place, like Rivendell from Lord of the Rings. That's an Elven Kingdom.
Yeah.
But like even a Avernus and the Feywild and the Astral Plane, the three of the locations I have on here, are not a good place to start like a beginner campaign.
Yeah.
The Underdark is a personal favorite of mine, but it's not a good place to start either if you're not playing as Underdark species. But the Feywild is so popular now because of ACOTAR and all the fairy romantasy series.
Yeah, there's like 10 million of them.
Yeah, that people kind of latch onto them.
Do you think that's good though?
No. No, I don't. Okay. Personally, I think the Feywild, like people who read those books and then play D&D might have an idea of the Feywild that's not entirely true. But fair enough. I think the Feywild is like a really interesting location if done right, just like any of the other locations on there, but you have to be like with a group that can role play well. Like everyone has to take part. And that's the real crux of D&D, is that if not everyone at the table is taking part and you being an active member, you're not going to have like a successful campaign. It's no fun if
makes the dream work.
Exactly. It's no fun if one person has like main character syndrome and everybody else is side characters.
Not the vibe.
Right? Yeah, not the vibe at all. Okay, so metagaming. Metagaming is when you like know that you're playing a game. Okay. Instead of like acting like you're playing a game, you're thinking of like, oh, that shouldn't have happened because that wouldn't actually happen.
Oh, like you're taking it too literally?
Yeah. Okay. So like a big Dungeons and Dragons taboo is metagaming, where you know how much health a creature has. Oh. And then when you think you've surpassed that, going, I'm pretty sure he would be dead because they only have such and such health. Oh. Or Googling like what their armor class is.
Yeah, because like when we fought the Mimic, we were like, why is it not dead yet?
Yeah.
But we also, none of us knew how much HP it had.
So like it's okay to be like, why isn't it dead yet? But if you're like, it should be dead because they only have 151 and we just passed 153. Yeah, that's metagaming. Oh. And that's shitty.
That is,
What I've seen, I've been at a table where the person sitting next to me has asked the DM, what are we fighting? And then while he was talking, Googled what it was. Oh. And then looked at like their AC and like their abilities. That's a stupid, shitty thing to do. That's not fun.
Side question. Do creatures ever vary in their HP or no?
Yes.
Okay.
There's different types of creatures. Yeah. And as a DM, I have oftentimes upped or lowered a creature's HP depending on the narrative function I want it to play. Okay. Like, I sometimes, like if a creature has like 20 HP, but I want it to be like a particularly difficult battle, I'll double it.
Damn, okay.
Yeah, so that'll be like 40.
Yeah.
But if they're facing like a dragon and they're like lower level, I'll drop it from like 350 to 180.
I'm curious how much that mimic was then.
Mimics can range. Yeah. Like there are different types of mimics and they can be like different sizes. So that's part of it. Yeah.
Cool.
Any questions?
No, I think it's time to learn how to play the guitar with your tongue.
Okay, so go ahead, tell me, how do I play the guitar with my tongue?
You lick the string. That sounds so awful.
I lick the strings, but how do I place the notes?
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, each string has a different note.
I'm
aware. And then I guess you would, how the heck would you even?
I don't know. You're the expert. You're supposed to be telling me. Once again, you come on the show with false pretenses of what you're going to teach me.
Oh. I mean, I guess you could just put your fingers on the frets while you're licking each string, but that's, quite something.
I don't know if that would work, though.
Maybe enough force. Yes, it would. I think so. Need like the string has to have a good amount of force. You can't just like touching it to have it vibrate. So therefore.
So then, how am I supposed to do that with my tongue and place the strings? Again, you're the expert.
Classic. Figure it out.
Unbelievable. Okay, join me next time where she teaches me the secrets of interdimensional travel. Stay magical, my friends.